But this is Terrence, and he's going to talk about his amazing life and career and how the NFL has really helped him to achieve more in business too. Is that okay? And can I just give you that?
Yep.
There you go.
Do I have to have this?
Well, get better sound.
Okay,
Because all being
perfect.
recorded and-
Sure. No, not a problem. First of all, thank you guys for coming. It's such a beautiful afternoon out, and I tell you what, as I was coming up here, I was like, wow. I mean, what better place to be in Colorado than anywhere else? You know, I'm from the state of Texas, small town, Tyler, Texas, East Texas. If anybody's familiar with it, the only reason you're familiar with it is because of a guy by the name of Earl Campbell. And so if you've ever heard of the Tyler Rolls, then that's most definitely where I'm from. You're absolutely correct. But, I'm not going to talk a lot. What I want to do, though, is, I want to talk about who I am, where I'm from. This really isn't much about me as it is more about all of us as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as individuals in general. And, the most important key and factor here is that, we all take what we've learned or what we hear today and, we apply it in our everyday lives, whether it's personally, professionally, or financially. What I want to do is I want to get everybody involved real quick, and I want to ask everybody to stand up, if you don't mind. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to get everybody to raise your hands as high as you possibly can. Right hand, left hand, doesn't matter. Greg, you're also involved. Camera people, you're also involved too as well. All right, now raise it just a little bit higher. If you can raise it a little bit higher, raise it a little bit higher. Okay, thank you. Drop your hands. Okay, the point of that exercise is, as I grew up in small town Tyler, Texas, I had two brothers, older brother, younger brother. I was the middle child, and so, I was a different one. I was the one that always had to do this for mom, do this for dad, do this for grandma, do this for grandpa, and for some reason, whatnot, I don't know, but there was never a reward for it. So, but as I do this task, the reason I did that is the very first thing I asked you was to raise your hand as high as you possibly can. If anybody was able to raise their hands higher, let me see a show of hands as you were able to raise your hands higher. And so the point of that is you shouldn't have been able to raise your hand any higher than what you were able to raise it, because the very first thing I asked you was to raise it as high as you possibly can. Well, this is the same thing in life as it is in business. What we do is we reach what we call a comfort level, and once we get to that comfort level, we kind of stop. And I know if you heard the term that, success is a journey, not a destination. It's the exact same thing. We reach this comfort level in life. We reach this comfort level in our relationships. We reach this comfort level in our business. And once we get to that comfort level, we stop, or we get stagnant, or we get comfortable. And so, as I was growing up, you can sit down if you want. So as I was growing up, what I saw, I saw a lot of hard work, dedication in my mother. My mother, if you know me, you'll always hear me talk about my mom, because my mom, she sits on a pedestal with me because she's done so much for my brothers and I. And, I saw, she was a registered nurse, and so she would work one job one day, another job another day, one job one night, another job another night. And, it was almost like I didn't see my mom, but when I was out playing sports, she was always there. No way possible, don't know how she could have made it, but she was always there. And so, when I would look up in the stands, my mom was in the stands, my father wasn't in the stands. And as we grow older and as I got older, I began to realize that. I really began to realize that. And so as I'm growing up and growing older, it was kind of like, I did everything. I was very, very talented. I did basketball, soccer, football, didn't play baseball. I thought it was the boringest and worst sport ever. First of all, for me, you don't have to be an athlete to play baseball at the time. You don't have to be an athlete to play baseball. Football is so much commitment, dedication, hard work, you name it. So I thought, being a football player, I'm this and that. Come to find out, I'm not this and that. But overall, in general, baseball is a sport. So if you're a baseball fan, I completely understand. But, as I'm growing up, and I'm getting to the point of, the hard work, the commitment, the dedication. Playing sports, what I learned was, the communication first and foremost. From the communication, it was the hard work, it was the dedication, it was the commitment, and it was all of those tangible things that, and I call them tangible is because they're so simple to grasp. It's so simple for me to say, hey, listen, I'm supposed to be doing a concrete job for you today, and something happened, I'm going to be running behind. But just as simple as picking up the phone, calling, communicating, and saying, hey, there's a problem, or there's not a problem, or there's an issue, or there's not an issue. And so, as I'm playing football, I went from high school, and in high school in Tyler, Texas, I'm trying to decide on what I'm going to do after high school. And so at one point, my junior year in high school, I come in the locker room, and I've got 2 bags full of college letters from anywhere possible you can think of, anywhere possible you can think of. And so at that point, I determined, hey, it's either I go work in the steel mill or I go work with, Kelly Tire at the time in Tyler, which is, understand Tyler's only 75,000 people. So, it's I either go work in the mill or I go work for Carrier Air Conditioner, or, I try to further my career in education first and foremost, and then in sports. And so I had the opportunity to go to Oklahoma State University. And then I played 5 years at Oklahoma State, went free agent to Pittsburgh first. From the Steelers, went to Atlanta. From Atlanta, went to Seattle.
Where?
Seattle Seahawks. Oh, I know it. I have to tell you, since you brought it up, I'm not a Denver fan, but hey, I have nothing wrong with the Broncos. I'm not a Seattle fan. I'm more of a Pittsburgh and a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I tell you what, you guys had a tough time last Super Bowl. I got to be honest with you. But to carry on, and so, as I'm transitioning from high school to college, you understand that, it's so fast, it's rapid, it's extremely rapid. I go to a major university, there's 25,000 students on campus. I come from a town that's only 75,000 people, and so, I go to a major university and then I'm just so privileged and had the ability to excel at Oklahoma State University, and then at this point, now go to the NFL. And then as I make it to the NFL, once again, I went free agent. And so I went free agent in the NFL, and I remember walking into Bill Cowher's office, and the first thing I told him, we sat down as I'm signing my contract, and the first thing I told him is, Coach, if you give me a level playing field, I promise you there's not a guy out there that can hang with me. Because at this point now in my career, it's not that I was confident. It's not that I was as being cocky. It was more of the confidence. It was more of me knowing that if this is level, if this has been the way it's been, then I know without a doubt I have a chance on this team. Well, fortunate or not, it's just like business. It's never level. There's never any steady ground. Whether you're working in corporate America, whether you have your own business, whatever it is, there's never any steady ground. If there was ever a steady ground, we'd all be successful. We'd all be doing it. And so what I found out was the big picture. For me, it was more at the time. I didn't know what corporate America was because I never experienced it. I was always an athlete. For me, hey, we always got put on a pedestal. Let's be honest. So it was always easy for me to walk into a door and create an opportunity just because of my past of playing in sports. And so now, what I've done is I've transitioned, the work ethic, the commitment, the communication, the hard work, the dedication. So I've been able to transition that over into now, my business life. I've created a multi-million-dollar concrete and asphalt company. I've got a real estate, residential, and commercial investing company. I own a travel agency. I've got a consulting company. I do traveling back and forth overseas for some other stuff. And through that, it has really allowed me to have success in not only my personal and professional life, but in my financial life too as well. And so, I've only got probably a minute and 22 seconds left. But if I can leave you with anything, if you can remember as you raise your hand, if you can remember that if you reach for the stars, or if you're able to reach as high as you possibly can the first time, then there's no need to have to come back because of struggles, because of mistakes. Because what you can do is you can eliminate from making mistakes by not chasing after the big apples, but more just eliminate from making mistakes by hitting it hard the first time. Thanks a lot for your time. I greatly appreciate it. I don't have your name, so I can't announce it.
Ralph, I've heard your story about picking up your $27 million check, but the reason I wanted you to tell it is because You lost that check. You did not get the contract with the government because of a war. Was it the Iraqi war? Which war was it? Yeah, and so what he did out of selflessness, I think, is powerful for all of us to learn. Is that okay as an introduction?
Well, thank you so much for coming. The story Greg wants me to tell you or share with you is, bottom line, I worked, my first company that I started, we designed memory boards for the microcomputer industry. And as part of my responsibilities was selling those products around the world. And I happened to come across an opportunity to sell 100,000 memory boards to the Air Force. Well, after working 9 months, getting all my products approved, getting them all sanctioned, they finally approved the contract and it was awarded $17.1 million. Well, just imagine I have 550 employees. They're all popping champagne corks as I get on an airplane to go pick up my contract. But unfortunately, by the time I arrived at Wright-Patterson, the night that transpired, the U.S. government decided that they were going to war with Iraq because Iraq invaded Kuwait. I walked into the colonel's office and he gave me the bad news. I'm sorry, all of the funding has been reallocated to the war. It's an Air Force war. We need your products, but we can't pay for them. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. But during this conversation, and he didn't say it so coarsely, but nonetheless, that's the way I felt. He got a delivery, and the delivery included a fly rod from his son-in-law. He shared a story with me about the fly rod, and the story was that he had never gone fishing, but he always wanted to catch a big fish. And his new son-in-law was an avid adventurist, and he was going to take him fishing in Montana. Well, all I could think of is wrapping that fishing rod around his neck and strangling him. So as I left, I went back to work. I went back to the office and had to tell 550 people to put the corks back in the champagne. Bottom line, it wasn't a pleasant period in our company. Because at that time, we only did about 20 million in revenue, so you can imagine the influx that would have afforded us. Well, further on down the line, we had a 17-day European trade show that was planned. And I went to my doctor for inoculations. And sitting on his coffee room table or his desk table there was a magazine, Field and Stream. And it featured a 6-page article on tying flies. I thought nothing about anything other than its colonel and his newfound passion, tore out 6 pages. And mind you, don't tear out pages in a waiting room. It's very embarrassing. Take the whole magazine. But nonetheless, I shoved it in my pocket, and that evening I put it in a note saying, basically, John, thought about your newfound passion, came across this article, hope you find it a good read. Best regards, Ralph. Nothing about transaction, nothing about business, nothing about wanting to do anything other than to fuel his passion. It really had no consequence to me one way or the other. It popped into my head. But this led me down the path of realizing that reciprocity is incredibly powerful when you touch people warmly. Well, needless to say, I'm in Barcelona, Spain, and I get a phone call from my office that it's urgent. I call General Collins at Wright-Pat. Well, he was a colonel when I met him, so this is a month and a half, 2 months later, and now he's a general. At any rate, I picked up the phone, called him, and the first thing he says to me, thanks so much for calling back. Do I play golf? I said, excuse me? It's March, it's cold in Ohio. Golf? Sure, I play golf. Why do you ask? He says, we're getting around to golf next Tuesday. It might be worth your time to be here. I said, John, I'm at 7,000 miles away in Barcelona. He said, be worth your time. Get on an airplane. Well, this was a Wednesday. That Thursday morning, I got on a plane. I flew back to Colorado. When I got off the plane, don't tell John this, but I bought a set of golf clubs and took a 3-day class at McKittrick School because I didn't play golf. The only thing I'd ever dealt with is a putter on a putt-putt course. Make a long story short, I arrived the night before. We played golf. He wouldn't tell me why he called me, wouldn't tell me what the opportunity, but you can imagine I tasted the deal. The next morning after golf, and they all laughed at me very nicely all day, I walked into his office, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing he says to me was, Ralph, before we get started, I have to tell you, you really touched me with that article you sent me. Now, mind you, it's 2 months later. My mind had drifted from that. I'm thinking, what article? But then it popped into my head, and I go, oh, yeah. Thinking sharply on my feet, I said, you have to call me when you get that first trout, John. And he said, already did, points above the door to a 7.5-pound, 27-inch trophy trout that he caught on his first tie, his first cast. Absolutely pure beginner's luck. But the empowerment of that happenstance made him want to do something for me. And so here's what he said to me. He says, Ralph, I can't give you the contract. I know that's what you came for. He said, but what I can do is I've set up 30 appointments for you with all the required people in contracting and funding to get your products approved on a funded contract. All you have to do is show up to these meetings over the next 45 days. Now, mind you, I couldn't have found these 30 people if my life depended on it. They were so closed into government channels that they had no access to the outside world. But he not only contacted them, he set my calendar for the next 45 days. And all I had to do was show up, show my products, demonstrate their functionality. And the long and short of it, I was awarded a $17 million contract 45 days later. Now, that's not the end of the story, however. The story got worse or scary and then better. 6 weeks into production, we've got about $1.5 million in product on the shelf ready to ship. And I get a phone call from Scott Air Force Base. Mr. Young, we have a problem with your contract. Now what? I got $1.5 million out of pocket, and you're telling me I have, no, you're not, no, there's no way you're going to tell me you have a problem. He goes, well, we have no techs to install your product. They're all in Iraq supporting our boys. I've got $12 million set aside for installation around the country. He says, can you put together a team to do it for us? So another $12 million was awarded just because I didn't push anything, and it all came to me because I treated person like a person rather than a target. That was the impetus of what started word-of-mouth marketing, is that one story. If you can touch people warmly and treat them like people rather than like targets, what you'll find is your business and your opportunities expand beyond belief. That's what predicated, it started word-of-mouth marketing, and that's what we do now, is we help professionals stay in touch or teach them how to stay in touch so that these things can happen to you too. I'm Ralph Young with Word of Mouth Marketing. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat with you. I got 5 more minutes, but I'm going to give it up for questions and for Barrett, because Barrett's accomplished some amazing things as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
I got to give you an introduction. Barrett, we've known each other for over 10 years. And I remember when you started into your company, and it was brand new, and how you and your 3 partners and Tony, from Spain, turned this company into, it's what, about a $60 million company right now? And you guys did that in about 10 years. And so you wanted to talk about breaking through success barriers. And I think what you wanted to talk about is fire yourself. Am I correct?
Greg, thank you. My name is Barrett Bartels. 25 years ago, I had my first taste of entrepreneurship. My parents started a little pizza restaurant up in Westminster, Colorado. Sadly, a couple years into the business, I was in high school at this time. My mom got very ill with lupus. And fairly quickly, I was a 15-year-old running a pizza restaurant for my parents. Going to school full time, literally working 50 hours a week when I was 15 years old. And what I found is I couldn't get enough of it. I absolutely loved it. I was passionate about business. So shortly after that, obviously got out of high school, had to go to college, go learn a few things, and I promised myself when I was going to school that as soon as I got done with school, I would be opening my own business. I suspect a lot of people in this room are entrepreneurs. How many of you guys own your own businesses? 90% of the room? Awesome. So as I talk about that, today I run 3 different businesses. I've got a 4th that we're in the process of starting right now. They're in different markets. Along the way, I've obtained a master's degree in finance. Anybody in the room pretty good with numbers? Got finance degrees? You guys do investments on your own? Curious, doing investing. What is the most valuable commodity out there right now? Does anybody know? Gold, that's a good one. People, trust. Diamonds, energy. Who said that? Perfect. Most valuable commodity is time. It's the one commodity that we never get any more of. The amount that you're allocated today till the end of your days is all you're ever going to get. And one of our businesses, what we do is we develop other small businesses. Currently, we have 70 small businesses working under our umbrella across the Mountain West region. And one of the things that I do for that company is I go out and go work with those people to help them grow, to help them succeed, to help them become more successful. And as part of doing that, one of the biggest struggles, one of the biggest challenges that we found is people don't know how to fire themselves. And until they learn how to do that, that really has prevented them from breaking through other success barriers. So how many of you guys are certified mechanics? Anybody here a mechanic? Okay, cool.
Certifiable mechanic.
Yeah, you're certifiable, Ralph, but. So you guys spend time rebuilding engines, rebuilding transmissions? I don't assume anybody in the room does that. Okay, right, that doesn't make sense. Okay, thank you, one other geek. I do it as well. It's a hobby. How many of you guys are certified accountants, CPAs, PAs? 1, 2, awesome. Keep your hand up over here. How many of you guys choose to do your own taxes or manage your own books or accounting? Honestly, put your hands up. Come on, keep them coming up, guys. I see you guys all over here, about half of you. So you're not professionally trained accountants, and yet all of you guys choose to invest the one commodity that you're not going to get any more of and doing something that you're not professionally trained at. What's your name, accountant over here? Ben. If you guys are doing your own taxes, doing your own books, I've never met Ben before, but I would encourage you to go talk to him or one of his friends or one of his neighbors. Oh, okay, all right, he doesn't anymore. I bet he knows some accountants, though. The concept of firing yourself is something that's foreign to a lot of people. And what we've found over the last decade of running this company is that it tends to come from one of two reasons. First reason why people don't fire themselves is they're operating from a poverty mindset. Something that a lot of us have been given by our parents. It's what society's taught us. It's what we've learned in school. And the other reason why we don't fire ourselves is out of pride. It's out of ego. I'll tell you, you know what? I'm the biggest culprit of both of those. I've got a stupid ego. There's so many dumb things I've done in my life because of my own pride. And you know what? I didn't grow up wealthy. I didn't come from money. I've never, never been given a silver spoon in my mouth. So everything I've had to come through, I've had to come through the school of hard knocks, just like it sounds like everybody up here. And this is a challenge that we work with all of our small business owners on, is how to get over those barriers, how to get over those hurdles. First one is the poverty mindset, is that we think that I don't have enough money, so I better do my own taxes. I better go change my own oil. You know what? I've got to go do my own marketing rather than hiring Ralph. I've got to do all this because I don't have enough money to go do these things. I'll tell you, first thing, money is infinite in this world. It comes and it goes. Ralph's seen $17 million show up, and he's seen it walk out the door just as quickly. What we don't have any more of is our time. And every minute we spend investing in things that are not building ourselves, not building our businesses, not building our families, we're wasting the most precious commodity that we have. Getting out of that poverty mindset or getting over your ego, I would just ask all of you guys here, if you get any one thing out of my talk, is go home, go look at yourself, go create a list of all the things you're doing right now that you're doing out of pride or out of a poverty mindset, and find anything you can pay somebody else to do for you so you can start focusing on your family, on your business, and on living and enjoying life. A few pieces for you today on 3 businesses. I've told you we're starting 4. I just got done spending 3 weeks in France. Here in another 2 weeks, we take off for a week to Iceland. I'm able to do these things with my family. I am able to go invest in my children, teach them about the world. I'm telling you that not to brag. I'm telling you that because there's been some amazing people in my life, like Greg, like Ralph, who have helped me to grow through this. And I want to encourage you guys, those of you guys who are new to business, those of you who are struggling in your businesses, go find mentors like these guys, like the guys up here, and have them help you work to that point to where you can get that freedom, to where you can spend the time with your family, to where you can really start to enjoy life and enjoy the one thing we don't get any more of. Barrett Bartels, thank you guys all for your time.
Barrett, I probably always mess this up. How old are you?
How do I look?
33.
34.
34. Yes, go ahead.
I'd just like to play on one thing that Barrett said. I've owned 5 different companies over my lifetime, generating many millions of dollars. Again, not to boast, but just to give you some clarity that I didn't accomplish that because I'm a smart guy. I accomplished that because I hired people smarter than me to be able to do things I couldn't do, didn't want to do, or never should have been doing. When you realize how much money your time is worth per hour, per day, you'll stop doing those menial tasks that consume time and take away from success. That's all I wanted to say.
Very good, very good. Very good. Okay, and then Michael, you know, Michael, your story is so incredibly interesting to me. And he also owns Boulder Valley Transfer, that this company does not work with him. Lucy runs the whole company, right? Pretty much. But that's not what I'd like you to talk about. I'd like you to talk about a little bit just about some of your interesting, pieces of land that you own, and dealing with Steven Spielberg, and how Dwight Yoakam just called your office the other day, and just things like that. And you got about a little over 5 minutes.
All right. First of all, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with or by. That's what it's about. For those of you that do your own accounting, quit it now, because the IRS is going to hold you personally responsible. I hire firms. Oh, I'm short? I didn't pay? They did it. They're insured. I didn't do it. My ass is leaving Hawaii. All right? That's how it goes. All right, I grew up with my grandma and my grandpa in Van Nuys, California. 5th and 6th grade. I'm a little kid. You never know where people you meet are going to take you. Okay, like he said. Oh, he went there. He sent him this brochure. He didn't do it. He did it sort of out of spite. I've done the same thing. It's like, here, shove this up your ass, There you go. But it turned back and was a good thing. Me, I had my flight line clearance. I worked at Edwards Air Force Base, China Lake, Area 51 for 3 years. And I got tired of it. Even knowing I was able to come and go when I wanted, I didn't have my freedom. They watched my financials. I go out of the country. Why did you leave? How long were you gone? Where were you going? I said, forget it. 17 years old, I started my first company in my grandma's laundry room with $2,000. One of my friends started his business in 1980 with $600, living out of a car. How many of you know of JP, John Paul DeJorian? Anyone know who that is? Paul Mitchell? Okay, so Paul Mitchell passed away in 95, 96. Paul DeJorian was the partner. Well, I grew up, Bill Lear Jets. I grew up with these guys. I was little Mikey. They'd always grab me. Come on, we're going flying, we're going. I didn't know who they were. They were my friends. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm at Catalina. I'm at another island. I'm going around. I call my grandma. I won't be home tonight. Where are you? Oh, I'm with Ed. I'm with Uncle Ed. I'm with this. I'm with that. Okay, fine. And I thought, wow, I want that. I want that. I knew my grandma and grandpa couldn't afford it. They weren't going to buy it, so I had to get it. And I thought, how am I going to get it? If I steal it, I'm going to get in trouble. So I need to make some money. All right? So when you're younger and you're in your 20s and 30s, it's all about you. Once you hit 45 and you're going up, it's about your family. And that's what you want. We all want our kids and our grandkids to have it easier than us. So if you want to do something and you want to drive yourself, think about what you want and then think about what you want to leave behind. Don't just leave money. Teach them the value of money. Money is only a tool. It's how you use it. So, yeah, I own moving and storage companies, California, Colorado, other places. Escrow companies. Why did I buy escrow companies? Because I was buying and selling land. I went to get my license. And I was like, forget the license. I don't want to disclose this. I don't want to disclose that. I want to buy it cheap, and I want to sell it for as much as I could get. I just went to the Ventura County auction September 19th, bought 3 properties. I sat there and said, oh, bought this, $9,800, $10,000, $15,000. Well, I'm selling for $170,000 and $200,000 each. They're already on the market. So there's a lot of money on the real estate side. As he says, okay, one of my neighbors, he's selling his house, 35 acres in Ventura County, $100 million. Steven Spielberg. In 1993, he came to me and says, hey, I want to buy your property. And I thought, you want to buy my property? Something's up. Something's up. You got money and you want to buy something I have? I don't want to sell it. So I kept it. And one of my customers, Halle Berry, when she was in General Hospital in the early 90s, was going to buy 10 acres for $150,000. Well, I selected who I wanted to sell this property to. So I sell them a little here, a little there. I kept 120 acres. I let them bring the infrastructure. I let them develop it. I still own it. It's free and clear. What do I have? $400,000 in all that property. Why? Because I rubbed shoulders with the right people. I looked for old timers that bought it years ago for $7,000, $20,000, and I rubbed shoulders. And I got to know them. They trusted me. They wanted me to have it to keep the legacy going. So you have to sell yourself. They have to believe in you. They believed in him. Me, I go out, I look for a deal, and I think, what do I want in life? Freedom. It's time. We're back to time. How much time do we have? How many people in this room, seriously, can sit there and say, hey, I'm going to go catch a plane in an hour or two and go to wherever I want? Not too many. You know, first you got to schedule the flight, right? Me, I make a call to one of my partners. I look at my partners. What do they have? How can it benefit me? Shit, he's got a private jet. I don't have to pay to keep it at Van Nuys Airport. I don't pay for the jet. I pay for the fuel. That's all I pay for. We're partners in real estate. I let him in on some of my deals. There we go. I let this person in, and I don't get greedy. That's the thing. Boulder Valley Transfer, yes, I own it. But I've put in the trust and will and all the documents that company is divided between Lucy, my 3 kids, and 4 other employees get shares. That way, they're not just working for a company and then going to retire for some Social Security that won't be here. It's going to be gone. Invest in yourself, protect your own money. That's what you have to do. There's a lot. I mean, like he said, there's some other. What other points would you like to hit?
Well, I just want people to realize that you own so many properties, you don't even know how many.
How many people know who Charles Manson is? Yeah.
Never met him personally.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Well, I own all of his property. I bought all of it. The whole Manson property where everything happened. I kept everything the same. It's all there. Even the culverts where they found the bodies, the houses. I kept it all. It's historical. Zorro's cabin. I bought the 5 acres from the studios, Sony Studios, where they filmed Zorro. Why? It's historical. Dean Martin, we can go over to Louisville right now.
Oh, you're going to tell them about that?
I don't care. All of Dean Martin's original music scripts, signed, done. I have all of it. James Cagney, I handled their estates. How many of you heard of the Voight family in LA? What's my last name?
Boy,
I'm Michael Voight. So I worked in the movie industries when I was a kid. What happened? I got tired of a damn director telling me what to do, yelling at me, cussing at me. 16, 17, finishing up the movie Problem Child, I took his golf cart, I ran it off the back lot of Universal Studios and said, fuck you. They took me up to the high office. They had meetings. He says, I want him kicked off this lot forever. I said, whatever, I don't care. They said, you guys go outside. Come back in. They said, all right, security's here. I thought, whatever, you don't need it. No, you're staying, Mikey. He's gone. Kicked the director off. He was gone. Michael Levy, Jim Brubaker, Michael Bay, These guys I grew up with as little Mikey. I'm not so little now, but you know what? Sometimes it is who you know and not what you know, but they don't just give me money. If they do a deal with me, they want money. They're as greedy as us. What's in it for me? So what do? I sit there even with companies. Like they said, 5, I lost count. By the time I was 20, I had nightclubs in San Diego, Oceanside, moving company in Oceanside, Ed and Marty will move you, moving company in Lancaster, California, Palmdale, Santa Clarita, and the San Fernando Valley in Chatsworth. And I was just getting started. And it was just going. And the IRS, I'm telling you, they came after me. They arrested me. They charged me with 27 felonies. By the time they were done, everything was dismissed. But it was all about the money. That's all anybody ever wants is the money. They want your assets, your money. They wanted to know, how did this kid make all this money and get all of it going without loans? Really? No loans, all cash. Apartment buildings, warehouses, cash. Why? I got smart. I went to some of the churches I knew. Churches get all this money. We're always giving donations. I said, hey, I'll tell you what, I want to buy this building. Why don't you loan me the money? I'll give you 10% interest. I'll pay you off in 5 years. Oh, great. It's secured. So creative. I did creative financing. Forget Bank of America. You know, that's what I tell them. I dress like this. I like to. Look, what does Paul DeJoy dress like? Ponytail, blue chains, huh? Dwight Yoakam calls her, hey, what's up, Mikey? I need my music from here to here to Bakersfield, wherever. Okay, pick it up. We all dress the same. If someone's going to judge me, I don't need to be with that person. Nothing against you suits.